Hello and welcome back to another educational session. So here I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to be going over. It is basically we are going to be discussing the importance of resistance training as we get older or in older age. So I would say anything 30 years and above for the most part, because usually that's when you tend to hear people say, "Oh, my back, my neck, I'm aching, etc., things of those nature." So we're gonna discuss some of that today. So after the first slide, we go into the introductory slide. We go into the first slide, which kind of goes into the content of what I'll be talking about today. So first is resistance training. The next is muscle hypertrophy. The third is the age population we're going over. Fourth is practical implications. And then we'll conclude and wrap everything up. So into the next slide, or the first thing as we just went over, we talk about what is resistance training specifically. So resistance training is basically what most people know as it can be weight training or strength training. So it is a form of exercise to where there is some sort of force you are working against. So whether that be conventional barbells and dumbbells, whether that be bands, you can consider body weight as well because your body weight is resistance against gravity. And then we also have machines as well, resistant machines as well. And all of these are to help build strength, some sort of strength, some sort of power, some sort of lengthening within that muscle and size. And then there are a couple of key principles here that come along with resistance training, which include progressive overload, which is gradually increasing the resistance or the intensity, specificity, which is specified to the muscle or muscle group that you are trying to hit. And then there's variation because you need to have a varied intensity or varied exercises in order to see growth and things of that nature. And then finally, there is recovery. So moving on to the next slide, we go on to talk about muscle hypertrophy and what that is. So essentially, muscle hypertrophy is basically it's the growth of a muscle. So in doing so, there are two types of hypertrophy. There is myofibrillar hypertrophy, which is the growth in density and size of the muscle fibers leading to improved strength. And then we have sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, which is basically the increase in volume within the muscle. So the amount of nutrients, the amount of water, and things of that nature a muscle can take in. So for example, a lot of times people say, after you work out or when you are working out, it's important to drink a lot of water because your muscles hold that water. Most of the water that we hold is within our muscles. So muscle hypertrophy obviously comes along with when you repeatedly do these exercises and you train your muscle fibers to the resistance training, to that mechanical overload and things of that nature, which in turn stimulates muscle growth. So moving on to the next slide, or slide number 5, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of resistance training. So here we have, it increases muscle strength and mass, obviously. It improves bone density and reduces osteoporosis risk. It enhances metabolism and supports weight management, boosts functional fitness for daily activities. It reduces the risk of falls and injuries, which is extremely important for the population that we're dealing with. And then it also supports mental health and cognitive function. So all of these are benefits of resistance training as a whole, not just resistance training in the lower body, but just as a whole overview. And then going into our next slide, we talk about the population. So we're, like I said, we're ballpark adults above 30, 35 years of age, around that. So around this age, most tend to start to succumb to bone disease because they maybe have not previously done not any type of physical activity or exercise, but just they lacked in physical activity and exercise, so they succumb to bone diseases such as osteoporosis. They are prone to strains, fractures, and DVTs, deep vein thrombosis, or blood clots. Um, these are seen in adults who are not as active because their muscles become weaker, their joints become less mobile, they become more stiff, things of that nature. So injury is a lot higher than what it should be. Another one is sarcopenia. Basically, all sarcopenia is not necessarily a condition, but it's just a natural occurring phenomena that basically happens over time. Essentially, we just end up losing lean body mass over time because we age. We lose about 3 to 5%, give or take, per decade. And then last but not least, this one is mainly important. The thing is with adults, especially in today's day and age, and here in America, is that there is this huge belief that there's not enough time. There's too much stress factors and things of that nature to where one cannot maintain a healthy lifestyle or just maintain being active. And to some degree, it may be true, but then again, at the same time, if you really want something, you have to make the time for it. And there are many ways that, we can work with people to help them achieve those goals. Maybe it might not be hitting the gym. Maybe it could be going for a slight run or jog on the beach. We can always change it up. Just find whatever helps them be them. So we're going to talk about some of the benefits that come with working out the lower body, especially in this age. So first thing first is that if you do primarily you want to resistance train before you hit 30, obviously you want to continue, but you would want to continue this trend as you go through your 20s up into your 30s, because once you hit about that 30-ish point, basically your bone is set in stone, and then after that you just basically lose your bone density. But basically lifting or having resistance training in the lower body helps reduce the risk of osteoporosis. It's going to enhance joint mobility and stability. It's going to boost your functional strength. So basically your everyday needs. So if you need to bend down, pick something up, you don't throw your back out. Or if you need to jump over a puddle, you won't slip and crack your ankle, just like how I did just now. But then there are also hormonal benefits. So it increases growth hormone and testosterone. And many, especially in the fitness world, is this stereotype is starting to change, especially from a female or woman standpoint. Testosterone is your friend. It is a hormone that we all have in our bodies. So a lot of women still believe, or if the thought out there is that women will get super bulky like a man because of testosterone, which is not 100% true. In some cases, depending on genetics, it can be, or if they're taking some type of steroids or some type of medicine, it can get there. But in general, that's not necessarily going to be the case. So adding on top of that, there is a stimulation of red blood cell production, which improves oxygen transport and nutrient transport as well. And this occurs due to the fact that our pelvic floor and our pelvic bone it produces majority of the red blood cells, or basically the bones in the lower body itself. So our pelvic floor, our our long bones, and our legs. Though a lot of red blood cell production comes from that. There's a promotion of vasodilation when you work out your lower body. It's going to lower your blood pressure, enhancing circulation, because during the venous route, it does have to fight against gravity. So if you have stronger capillaries in your legs and things of that nature, it'll help push everything back up towards your lungs and your heart. Again, like I said, it's going to improve and increases the nutrient delivery. One thing I know that we all want is a good night's sleep, and it's going to help with the better sleep quality. It's going to improve digestive motility. So if you're ever constipated, this is going to help with that. And then one of the more important ones is that it does prevent blood pooling, which essentially comes through that circulation of our blood through our body. And blood pooling is one of the key factors in people developing DVTs. So some of the trainings out there that have been done is, one is called blood flow restriction training, and it sounds exactly what it sounds like. It's restricting the blood flow to a certain part of the body, and that's going to basically enhance your training. So basically it involves performing low load resistant exercises while restricting blood flow to the working muscle. And some research has indicated this increases lower limb muscle and strength, muscle mass and strength significantly, and also improves improving knee function, especially if you do it at the quad tendon or your knee. Let's see here. Another program we have is low impact resistance program, also pretty straightforward. Low impact, it's going to be better for individuals who may be just coming back from rehab, or individuals who don't have a great starting place. It's going to be great for older adults, things of that nature. So they're still going to get their workout in, just not as intense as someone else. So there was a study involving women about 40 to 60 years old, and they demonstrated significant improvements in lower body strength, hip function, and overall balance after participating in such programs. So they have their place, they have their role. Another one is eccentric training. Eccentric training is going to focus on the lengthening phase of the muscle contraction, where the muscle elongates under tension. So basically, this technique has been shown to produce a greater force and may lead to significant increases in muscle strength, size, and power. Eccentric contractions use less energy and can be beneficial in rehabilitation settings. So again, similar to the low impact, it all just depends on where we're working from. These programs have their own pace and play and role to play when it comes to exercise. And then finally, we have high load resistance training. And this is where we see those short reps but heavy weight. This is going to basically help you get those muscle fibers that you want in order to get those gains. And most people usually do high load resistance training. So pretty much more so the practical implications for this is going to be injury prevention, improved movement and mobility, joint health, low risk of chronic illnesses, and just general strength overall. So having this is going to just basically help you live a better life, especially from your lower body standpoint. We use our legs so much. We walk everywhere. We need them to do, to get from point A to B. We need them to do so many things, go up, go down. So it's important to train and work on that aspect. Using some of these programs, we need them, essentially. Some of the limitations that might come with doing this is so we have some pre-existing conditions. Some people have a lack of knowledge, lack of plan. Usually, one of the main things, two the main things is a lack of knowledge and a lack of planning. We have medication usage from the interactions in the body. There's improper technique and imbalances that can play a huge role. And then we have higher recovery demand because it is a lower body, it uses more energy, the muscles are bigger and everything. So it does take a little bit longer to recover. And then for some people, there might be mental fatigue because it does take a lot out of you. And then finally, to wrap it up, I do have a couple of videos in this PowerPoint if you want to take a look at it, just to say that it doesn't matter what age you are, you can do it. I can do it. We all can do it.